So I want to welcome everybody. This is Brian Kaskavalsian from gFour Marketing Group and the Wealthy Contractor. And every month we do trainings. And some months I introduce you to partners that we work with that I think can really benefit your business. And one of the best partners that we have is Marlimar. Mark, I've known Mark now for a couple 3 years. We do the what do you call it, the show circuit together, and we're actually clients of Marlimar as well. And I've got a lot of my clients are also work with Mark. And I've asked him to be on today to talk to you guys about communication and about primarily we're going to be talking about text messaging and the power of text messaging. I think that this is something that we all need to have in our toolbox. So Mark is going to share with you best practices, and of course he's going to show you his solution as well. Now, I should say that every once in a while when we do bring partners on, with some of them, we might make a couple bucks if one of our clients buys. This is just in full disclosure. But in the case of Marlimar, I'm bringing this to you just because I believe in the product. I think it's something everybody should have. It's affordable for any size company. I know Mark has companies that are small, and he's got monster companies that are on his platform. But it's a very affordable solution. I think it's something that we all need to have. So with all of that being said, Mark, welcome. Thank you for thanks for being here and talking to us today. So I'll turn it over to you. Let everybody know what we're going to be covering today, and then let's get into it.
Great. Yeah, what we'd like to cover today is really the changed consumer behavior. And what I'd like to do is spend the first few minutes going through national statistics, why consumer behaviors have changed. And we're hearing this from almost every company, that the old ways of communicating aren't working today. And if you're still using the ways you used to use by sending an email or trying to make a phone call, in some cases, you may even be damaging your ability to connect with some users. So hopefully this will lead give you some insight. Many of you all are seeing it already, so this might not be new, but it may just reinforce what you already know as to the importance of changing the way you're communicating with consumers. So what I'd like to do is use the easiest ways to use an example and to really talk about a specific issue. So let's talk about leads. And with this, you'll get the gist as to really how consumer behavior has changed. So all of you all do lead generation in some way, through canvassing, through events, through maybe signage in different places, maybe radio broadcast, TV, number of different ways, websites. But you've spent your money in getting these leads. And now I know that once you have that lead, you want to convert that lead into a set demo. Probably want to get inside their house. You probably want to show them what your services and products are. You oftentimes want to more than just get inside their house, but you want to get the decision makers there. You want to allocate the appropriate amount of time. You want to make sure that the kids are in the closet and the doors and the dog's outside. You just want to make sure that you have their attention and that they're prepared for your sales rep to spend his time and effort in coming to that house. So once you have that lead, you need to convert them to a demo. You want to have that phone call. And the thing you want to do is you want to elicit a response from that lead. You want to generate something from that lead so that you can talk to them. Really, you want to have a phone call. And that goal is an in-home appointment and eventually a sale. So we start that chase, and I've heard it. I've heard it so many times that you get a lead in as quickly as possible. You make a phone call out to that lead. But what happens? They're not answering the call. They're not answering the call not because they don't necessarily want your product, but because they don't recognize the number. I venture to say every single one of you online right now may receive a phone call And if you're just a little uncertain about answering it because you don't recognize it, you're afraid it's another robocall, you're afraid it's spam of some sort, so you let it go to voicemail. And oftentimes, though, if that call goes to voicemail, you're not even in a hurry to listen to it because I'll get to it later, so it's really not important. So us as a company, we're making calls out to these leads and they're not answering the call. So I've seen it. You have this tick and check. You've made a call at 10 a.m. You then immediately follow up with an email, but that email is going to their home email account. And I don't know about you guys, but my home email address looks like a junk spam filter. It's hard for me to find the good stuff in spite of the bad stuff. When my healthcare provider sends me information, critical information sometimes via email to my home email address, I can't even find it. So I'm sure you all have had some of the same experiences that you're missing good emails coming to your home email address. But that email that you send out as a company to that lead oftentimes doesn't even get to the lead, doesn't even get a view. So then you get into this chase mode where you place another phone call followed by another phone call. I've heard of companies placing up to 6 phone calls to a lead in the very same day. That's craziness to me. I don't know about you, but if I receive 6 calls from a company I'm thinking about doing business with in a single day, I'm not sure I would choose to do business with them because they've been ringing my door so many times, I probably don't even want to talk to them at this point. So how do we get it though? How do we communicate with these leads? In this day and age of communication where everybody has a cell phone, and here I'll hold mine up, everyone has their cell phone within a hand's reach of them, it's never been more difficult for home improvement companies and companies in general to communicate with leads. So there is a way of doing it, and I want to talk a little bit more about that. I really question you, how would your behavior be? When I go through this oftentimes in an open format, face-to-face, I get a lot of shaking heads and a lot of people saying, that's exactly what my behavior would be. I wouldn't answer that phone call, not because I don't want to do work with that customer or that home improvement company, but just because I don't know who it is. So let's talk about some more stats. Email today, under 20% of personal emails delivered are opened. And frankly, I hear that my 20% figure is probably high. And if they're opened, the click-through rate of those opened emails is only about 5%. Something very special happened this past year. For the first time in history, internet usage by mobile phones has exceeded the internet usage by computers. So more people are using their mobile phone to surf the web and do internet type activities than they are using their own computers. I hear that companies like Dell are saying that computer sales itself is going down because more people are using mobile devices to serve all their computer needs and not even needing a computer itself. So you can see the stat put out that shows worldwide how these two lines have crossed. Previously, there's a huge gap between internet usage with a mobile phone and internet usage with a computer. Now that gap not only has narrowed, but has now crossed. And that's going to continue to cross. More and more people are using their mobile phone for all their technical needs. They're abandoning their computers and embracing that cell phone. So let's go further with it. Let's talk about how we might want to elicit a response from a consumer by sending a text message. Previously when we started in business, and I've been doing text messaging now for companies for over about 9 years. And when we first doing it, the answer we got back from a lot of companies was, oh, text messaging, that's cheap stuff. That's restaurant coupons. I don't want to do text messaging. Well, it's not that way anymore. Text messaging is very important. Matter of fact, without knowing you and knowing you on the phone, on this webinar, I know that probably your text messaging is your primary way of communicating with your family and friends. More than likely, you're not calling your family and friends about what you're going to do over the weekend. Instead, you're sending a text message saying, hey, let's go to this place and I'll meet you at this time. So that text messaging by consumers is a very personal, intimate, highly used way of communicating with your family and friends. If we can help you as a company figure out how to penetrate that through text messaging, we've accomplished something very special. So Pew Research now has some very interesting stats. They say over 95% of adults own a cell phone in the US. I would argue it's probably higher than that, but that's their stat, and we'll accept that stat. And they say over 77% own a smartphone. That's up from 35% in 2011. That just goes to show you how much technology has changed. It's more than doubled in just a few years. And let's talk about your main demographic. I know your main demographic is probably 65 years old. That's probably the average. Some people say, oh, we're in the bath business. Our demographic is over that. Our demographic's 70 years old, 75. Well, that's fine. We're finding that the older demographic are using cell phones now. Matter of fact, they say that's the fastest growing group now is the older demographic in using technology. Well, the reason it's the fastest growing is because the other demographics are already using technology to the fullest. It's already saturated. They say 85% of the over 65 age own a cell phone, and 96% of every text message sent to the United States is read in the first 3 minutes of delivery. Now that stat, I'm going to back up, that 3 minutes of delivery and 96% of text messages compares to, whoops, I put it the wrong way, compares to 20% of personal emails. That's a huge difference.
Hey, Mark, just real quick, just on those stats. So what's really interesting about the whole cell phone thing is my mother-in-law, who is, I don't know, 70 something, 72, 73, she sends me text messages. My mother, who is 75, will send me text messages. Not as often because we talk, but where is she? She's in here somewhere. Here. So, and look, my mom is on a group chat with me and my sister. So, and my mom's 75. So the stats are, these are all accurate. And I think everybody that's listening too, you probably got, some of you might not have parents as old as mine. But that older group is active on their phones. Anyway, I just wanted to show that.
Yeah, well, I see it myself personally. I'm in a group with some very older senior friends of mine, and they too, they say to me, don't email me, text me.
Yeah.
So, I'm finding this.
My mom can't use email. I tried to show her how to do it. She can't use it. She figured out the texting pretty damn quick.
The reason the older demographics figuring out the texting is because that's the only way they can get their kids and grandkids to actually respond to a message.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times myself I have called my children, and my kids are 23 and 25 years old. I can't tell you how many times I've called them and they will not answer the call. I immediately turn around and text them, and within seconds I get a response back via text.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
So, okay,
also, let's talk. But then our age group, who's kind of the probably in the sweet spot of home improvement, in their 50s, we're all over texting. I never thought that I would use texting, and I do it more now. It took me a while to actually give in, and it's all I do now. It's amazing how much it's changed. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, let's keep on going. We're talking about eliciting a response from the leads that we generate. This last stat should not be missed. 45% of these delivered text messages are responded to within 90 seconds. That too is a huge stat. Think about it. That stat compared to, and these are not responded to, these are responded to in 90 seconds. Arguably, every text message sent to the United States is read. And arguably, most of them, if they're going to be responded to, are responded to in a very short period of time. So it's just, we talked about craziness a few minutes ago about trying to reach children and get them to answer the phone. The craziness, I think, is by companies. Because oftentimes we get these filled out forms from shows, or we get a web lead via email that someone went to a website and they decided rather than calling this home improvement company, we're going to fill out a form instead. And in spite of all that, these home improvement companies turn around, they get these emailed web leads, and what do, Brian? They're calling them. Well, they chose not to call you to begin with, and instead, these home improvement companies are calling them. I get it. You got to talk to them. You've got to confirm these appointments. But I believe a listing, a response initially via text can really get you the response that you want. Let's go on. So let's talk a little bit more about that. We can't treat to elicit a response to get these homeowners to answer a text message. We can't treat it like email. I've got sub companies that say, oh, I want to automate it and replace it with my email. And every time I would normally send an email, I want to send a text message. Well, I can tell you right now, that is a sure way of not getting a homeowner, of not getting a sale. Because if you start sending them as many text messages as you would normally send them emails, you're just going to make them angry because you're interfering with that personal communication. Brian, you showed it. You've got that personal communication with your sister and your mother. You know, that's a personal space, and we have to treat that very special. So, you know, email is more informational driven. Text is very personal, very communicational. And if we can help you appear like a personal communication back and forth with that lead, we've accomplished something very special. So we say texts need to be relational, don't send generic impersonal text. You know, we've seen it among homeowners. They can see through it. If you're going to send this impersonal text, if you've not already warmed them up with some personal exchange, they're going to know that it's either automated, robotic, or from a company who doesn't really want to have a conversation with me. They're just trying to get the sale. So we try to help companies understand that text messaging with conversations, text messaging with personal communications can really help. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Again, it's not about sending messages. It's not about sending emails or phone calls or even texts. It's all about getting that response and actually setting that appointment. So let's kind of summarize for a second. What are the best ways to elicit a response with text messaging?
Hey, Mark, sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to elaborate on something here for a second, because one of the big reasons why I asked Mark to come today and to do this training is because one of the things that's becoming harder and harder is converting inquiries. I don't even call them leads. Somebody that fills out something, a form on your website, or that you meet at a show, an event, somebody that raises their hand and even calls your office, that's an inquiry. That's not a lead yet. It's our job to convert that inquiry into a set appointment. And one of the things that I think that the average conversion right now is somewhere around 60-65% from inquiry to set appointment. Now, I think that a lot of companies don't even know what their number is. Example, how many of you that are on the call have a CRM system where every single time the phone rings, a form is submitted, a show lead, whatever comes in, that information is all put into the CRM? An example. So when I was running my home improvement company, we would get 50 phone calls on a Monday morning. Every single, the way that our CRM was set up and the way that we trained our people was, when that phone rings and you pick it up, you hit a button that says new call. And so we were able to track. Now, I didn't care if this was a sales call, somebody trying to sell me something, or if this was a legitimate inquiry, or if it was an inquiry for something we did not do. I wanted every single inbound accounted for, so that I could go back and I could say, okay, we got this many legitimate inquiries and our conversion percentage from that into an appointment was this number. What a lot of companies are not doing right now is, for example, you might say, well, I have a 95% conversion rate. And I would say to you, probably not. And here's why. Because your conversion rate, or 100% conversion rate, The problem is that your people aren't putting it into the system. So how many times do you, our friend Jack at CallSource can show you proof of this over and over and over again? How many times are your people picking up let's just use the phone as an example, picking up the phone, and somebody will ask you, hey, do you do wood windows? And your person will say, no, we don't do wood windows, and let that go. Just hang up, right? That's craziness. And then they won't even put it into the system. But then when the next person calls, they'll put it into the system. And so conversion rate, imagine if you could increase your conversion rate on the front end from inquiry into appointment by just 10%. And let's say you do $1 million a year. Take that conversion and now put it into the rest of the process. So if you get 100, let's say, appointments, now you're, just to keep the math easy, let's say you get 100 appointments, and those 100 appointments turn into $100,000 in revenue. Again, I'm just keeping the math simple. What would happen if you got 10% more? Now you would do $110,000 a year. At the end of the year, you're talking about some real money. So this conversion number, this is just one small piece of what Mark is talking about here. But because then it goes to, well, and he'll talk about this too, but I just want to get, I just want you to understand how critically important this is in terms of you increase your conversion percentage on the front end, and it spews out money on the back end. Okay, and I hope everybody gets that. That's why he's here today, because conversion is going down. Lead cost is going up. So we've got to do everything that we can do to get conversion rate up as well. If you're at 60, 65%, you have a lot of room for improvement. And if you don't know what that number is, you need to have a system in place, and you need to let all of your people know every single inquiry that comes from a home show, every single inquiry that comes through the website, every single phone call that comes into this business must be put into the CRM system so that you as the owner, you as the marketing manager, if I ask you what is your conversion number, boom, you'll be able to tell me what your conversion number is. The best people in this business, they know that number, and they work on, how do I get another point out of this? How do I get another 2 points out of this? Right? So Mark, sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's really important that people understand you're not here and you're not just talking about text messaging. You're talking, just like you said right up at the top, how do you get them to respond so that you can set that appointment, so that you can schedule that demo, so that you can make that sale. So with that,
yeah, just spending the money on the leads isn't going to necessarily get you that sale. I mean, the hard part, once you get that lead, is getting that sale made. And the first step to that is actually getting inside that door. And we know how difficult that is. And so I guess before I go through this list, which is very important, I just have to say we've learned that small changes can make big differences. What I mean by that is that if we can make a small change with the way you're communicating in some element of your communication that can get your homeowner, can get your lead to actually answer the call the next time, or can get them to text back or call back, then you've increased that. One sale can pay for a long way when it comes to the leads you've already paid for, as well as any services that's costing you to get that sale. So let's go through this. There's 5 things I'd like to kind of cover with you when it comes to the best practices in listing a response with text message. The first one is the one that we're big advocates for, and that's send that text message from your landline number. Technology now has it that we can take your landline number, the very phone number that you're calling these leads on, and you can authorize that number for texting as well. And you can send out a text message from that very number. So how neat now? You've just placed a call to a lead that you just got. They chose not to answer the call because they didn't recognize the phone number. A minute later, that lead gets a text message from that very same phone number. And they look down and they say, oh, that's the phone number that I missed that call from. This person's now trying to reach me. They're pretty intent on reaching me. Matter of fact, they called me and then texted me. Boy, that's the way that some of my friends do. They call me and then they text me, don't they? So they then have the attention of you. They make that connection and they know who missed that call. And there's a lot of things that you can say in the message that can prompt them then to call back, and we'll talk about that as well. Additionally, I'm a huge advocate that you should never use an 800 number to send a message from. Just because we can use a 10-digit landline number, if your main landline number is an 800 number, don't use that number. Find a local area code number. You want your phone number to resonate with those leads. You probably have had these talks for years that you don't want to make outbound calls on an 800 number. You want to make an outbound call on a local area code number. And it's a very popular technique for home improvement companies to do. Same goes for text messaging. Sending that text message from the very same number you tried them on, from a local area code number that resonates with them. While it may seem like a small change, it can have a big impact on their willingness to either call back or text back. The second one is make sure that these text messages are visual. You know, we can help you send messages with images and logos. How important would it be to not just brand yourself with every message you send out, but to make that emotional connection, that visual connection? I hear that a lot of the leads that are being called out on come from shows. And man, when these leads go to shows, they have talked to a dozen window companies and roofing companies and bath companies, and they have a bag full of stuff from these shows they've gone to, but they can recognize a logo. So here's a way to send a logo to help make that connection. We're that company that stopped and talked to you. We're that company that talked to you about our windows or our baths. We're that company that you had that good conversation with before. It's a way of doing 100% branding. Think about it. We've already determined that the text messages are nearly 100% opened. So here's a way of branding with 100% open rate by branding your logo with every message you send out. Now, is that going to have an impact? I believe it can have a pretty tremendous impact, not just on this one lead, but on future branding, future messaging, future marketing. Also, we believe in being personal. We've already talked about the value of not being so impersonal with it. We've talked about how important it is to maybe not send automated messages out, because if you send an automated message every time, then it may not be as personal or as timely as a message that's sent immediately after a phone call. But more so than that, rather than saying this is gFour marketing, how much more valuable would it be if you made that personal connection? Hey, this is Brian with gFour marketing. I just tried calling you and no one answered. You know, I can help you and I can answer your questions. Why don't you call me right now at this same number that you just missed a call from, or you could just text me back. Now, here's a way of making a personal connection by just simply inserting a name. Now, we have some very large companies who use personal names of all their inside call reps for sending those messages out. But we have some big companies that say, oh, we can't manage all that. So they use one name as the callback name. And that way, when they call back, they can talk to anybody. But regardless, to the lead's perspective, being personal with a name makes a small but important difference sometimes. Because again, we're entering their personal zone. We're entering their zone where they're communicating with their family and friends. Next is number 4. We are a big advocate in using pre-scripted messaging. I believe that pre-scripting messaging with home improvement companies is an absolute necessity. The last thing you want to do is send out inappropriate, misspelled, or bad grammar with the messages that's being sent out. I can't tell you how many times the initial message being sent out to somebody has been done from an open script or from a cell phone that someone had in the office. They say, oh, we're using our cell phone. Well, yeah, are you ever mistyping that number? Yeah, but they understand. Yeah, they may understand, but that message that call center person or that representative inside your office is sending out, that's representing you. That's representing your brand. Do you want to represent your brand with a message that you haven't audited, that you haven't gone through to really make sure it's the type of message you want to send? And does it say what you really want to say? So we're a big advocate of having those pre-scripted messages whereby you can choose the proper message for the proper occasion to hopefully get the response that you want from the homeowner. Lastly on here is language itself. We believe that the language is very important, that we want to make sure that language always is service-driven, is always compliant. We want to make sure that language is valuable. Is it communicating? You may only have one chance to get that lead to really read that message. So let's make that message count. Let's have the opportunity to get them to read the message that you really want them to respond to. And let's make it as compliant as possible. We work with a lot of companies that want to take their year-old list of leads that they've never made sales from, and they want to just blast them out with a blast message. Can our system do it? Yeah, our system can do it, but we don't let them do it. We don't recommend that at all. Because the last thing a company wants to do is send an impersonal blast message to a group of people that haven't even thought about you in months. That is out of compliance. Matter of fact, that actually violates the FTC rules and MMA rules. So we help you stay compliant with your messages, to stay off marketing type messages where in areas that you don't have marketing consent back to them. And I believe that's a very important and oftentimes overlooked area when it comes to messaging, both phone calls and text.
Hey, Mark, just as a by the way, we do the exact same thing with email marketing as well. If you haven't contacted that email in a month or two longer, we have companies that'll do the same thing. They've got somebody they haven't talked to in a year, and or 2 years or 5, and they say, well, we want to put them onto our email list. Well, no, you don't want to do that. So anyway, go on.
Yeah, it's really important, and there are a lot of, I just don't want to scare people, but there's a lot of class action lawsuits out there where, people have been sued companies have been sued for sending unwanted messages out to people who never wanted that message to begin with. You and I get them often, sometimes even on our cell phone. And here's a way to make sure that our messages are thought out ahead of time, are compliant. So I'm going to give you some examples. Here's an example. This comes from our system, but it can come from anybody. I just want to show you the value of this. So we want to talk about personal, visual, and pre-scripted language messaging. We can send out a message, and I'm using myself. This is my number and my name, so I can send a message to myself that says, hey, this is Matt Eaton. There's that personal piece to it. With Veloci Home Improvement, we tried contacting you on about the web form you recently submitted with questions, but we're unable to reach you. I can help and answer questions. Please call me at this phone number. Now, here's the cool thing. We're saying, call me at this phone number. Well, let's just jump over now to this text message. I received this text message from that very phone number that we're asking them to call back on. How valuable that is to, again, receive it from that very same phone number. And now, not just receive that message, but also receive a logo along with that message. So if you're trying to brand your brand, here's a way to get that brand up front in their face with every message. So we've accomplished. Let's go back. It came from a 10-digit landline number. That is my landline number that we've authorized for text messaging. We're sending a logo along with it. We were personal. We use that name. That was Matt that we used that name with. It came from a pre-scripted message that was thought out ahead of time. And that language is compliant. It doesn't violate any marketing type rules. It's just talking about the appointment. You submitted a web form. We tried reaching you back by phone. You didn't answer. I'm just trying to reach back out to you. Let me know how I can reach to you. Very, very important message. This message is combining a lot of small changes to get a big impact. And we hear daily about the impact these messages are making across the board for home improvement companies. Here's one more. Let's talk about a response back. We talked about conversations back and forth. Many systems now, and ours has conversation abilities whereby you can respond to the message. Thanks, I'll call you when I free up in 15 minutes. These are very common messages that are sent back. And our company gets copies via email of every response that a homeowner ever makes back to one of our clients. And that way we can see these responses and audit them at times. And we see the type of responses coming back. This is a typical response coming back. I'm in the grocery, I'll call you in a few minutes. Here's another crazy thing that takes place. So you have a lead that chooses not to make a phone call, but instead to place a form to you, submit a form. You receive that form and try calling them back, which is craziness to begin with, because you're calling a person who didn't choose to call you to begin with. Then on top of that, you're telling that lead, there is nothing more important that you're doing right now than to receive my phone call. I'm telling you to answer my call right now because I'm trying to call you about something you said was important to you, and I don't care what else you're doing, but I'm calling you, so you better answer that call. I don't want to be rude about it, but do you understand the image it's putting across? It's saying, you need to talk to me, and you need to talk to me now. But when you send a text message out, it conveys a different message. That message now is, yeah, I tried reaching you. I need to talk to you. Here, I'm going to give you control. You let me know when a good time is to contact you. And we get a lot of people that will text back to say, hey, I'm in the grocery. I'll call you in 15. I'm at work. Can I call you after 6? Can I call you in 15? Whatever that message is, they get that message back. And now you can have a chat with them via text, via that personal relational communication by just typing another message in right here in the message box and sending that out. And you can have a one-to-one communication. We hear some home improvement companies are actually going the extra mile with this text messaging. They believe that so few leads want to have a phone call and a phone conversation that they're actually using text message now to go through that checklist before they send the sales rep out. You know that checklist. You have it yourself. Can you allocate 90 minutes for our call? For our visit? Will all the decision makers be there tonight? Can you make sure that everyone's available for that decision? Because we want to show all the decision makers how important this is. These communication pieces, which are traditionally done via phone, we're finding some groups now choosing to do that via text message because they know they can get that message across. There's other ways that we can include these logos in very, very important ways. Let me give you another one. I know if there's ever a time that a lead is scared about having you as a possible sale for themselves, it's when they've agreed to have a complete stranger come to their door, knock on that door, and ask to come in their house. I don't care whether that homeowner lead is 30 years old or 75 years old. There's a high level of anxiety when they come to that door. We also know that when they come to that door, that lead is uncomfortable and nervous. And if we can make that lead more comfortable on the front end, we, the home improvement company, have a better chance of selling that lead, warming up that sales rep before they ever come in the door. So we're a high advocate of sending out pictures. Now, Harrison Ford back in the Star Wars days may not be the guy that comes to your house, but how nice would it be to be able to send out a message that says, hey, Andrew Martin from Veloce Home Improvement is looking forward to visiting with you today at 5 p.m. For your comfort and protection, a picture of Andrew Martin is attached. Now, not only have you attached a picture of the guy coming to the front door, so now they know who they're looking for, but you've let them know the time as well. Again, we know those read rates and those view rates of those text messages is nearly 100%. So now you've taken off some of that anxiety and you've allowed that homeowner to feel a little bit more comfortable. Some groups even take it a step further and include a short bio of the rep coming to the house. I hear companies say to me all the time, oh, we're already doing that by email. Yeah, is that email being read? Is that really helping with that anxiety when they come to the door? Because that email may not be read ahead of time. This way we know it is. Brian, were you getting ready to say something?
Nope. I'm
Oh,
good.
okay. What I'd like to do is I'd like to have a chance to give you all a very quick demo. We have a few more minutes left. I have my chat box open. If you all would send me your cell phone number, I'm going to open up a live demo and actually show you what it feels like to receive some of these messages. And I'll stay on lead gen. Now there are text message services that we have that can go through the entire life cycle, from lead gen to confirmations to production to service type related warranty messaging, even all the way through to post-sale activities of collection and referral request, and even with Brian's help, even some review request type messaging. So these text messages have a role in all these areas. So I'm going to send one out and launch it right now. So let me open this up. Our system, which is just a system available, is available through login from a website, veloce.marlimar.com. And here's what a demo website looks like. This comes from my demo website, and I'm just going to send out this first message so you all can feel it. Sheila gave me your number, so I'm just going to put her number in here first. And if you all want to send your number, I welcome that, and I can send you a message. Sheila, I'm going to put your name in here, just your first name, S-H-E-I-L-A. And as simply as I've pulled up the message, again, I can choose a different message, a set appointment, a confirm message, or I can choose this web lead message. And I'm just going to stay easy by sending that web lead message. You can see that the system has validated the phone number, validating that it's a cell phone number. Our system doesn't even let an attempt be made to a phone number that's not already a cell phone number, because it validates it ahead of time. But I can send this message to Sheila, and as quickly as I send that message, it's going to open up a new conversation box. Now you see it shows that it's sending with a spinning circle. Our system is waiting for confirmation back from Sheila's carrier. And when Sheila's carrier confirms that that message has been delivered to her device, that carrier confirms back to our system, letting us know that that message has been sent and delivered to Sheila. So now, Sheila, you've received this message with both a logo and a message. And so now for fun, so people can see, go ahead and reply back to that message. And you can see how this conversation can start and work. And in the meantime, if someone else would like to send their cell phone number over, I can send a second message out as well.
Hey, Mark, while we're waiting, so here's one of the things I love about this system. So Mark just went through this real quick, but when you have this system in your office, if you look over on the left-hand side there where he's got message type, so look at what he's got. So he's got leads, he's got web leads. He's got messages for a set appointment, for confirmation, if somebody's not home, and on, right? So a lot of this stuff is already built for companies just like yours, right? And so, yeah, look at all of that up there that he's got that is already built in to his system. This is one of my favorite things about this, because it's not just, Mark is not just a text provider. You can get text messaging from anywhere. What Mark is doing here is he's giving you a tool that's designed specifically for your business to help you get in touch with people in just another way, a different way. So so your results will go up. I think Sheila responded to your message. Have you been communicating with her now?
I have. She responded back, thanks, I'll call you back in an hour. I just went down here and typed a personal message back. Sheila, thanks for your message.
Yeah.
So, here's a way of confirming that. We can open up multiple boxes as well. Brian, what's your number? I'll send you a message real quick.
562-755-0296.
So, Brian, have I never sent you a message?
Yeah, you have.
Okay. So now, Brian, I'm going to ask you to do something different, or maybe Sheila as well. I want to show you how we can also deal with pictures back from the customer. So Sheila or Brian, just attach a picture, if you would, from your phone. Take a picture or attach a picture and send it back to the system. I want to show you how easy it is to, both for call center type activities for setting appointments, as well as for production activities when it comes to warranty and service, for sending pictures back and forth through the system. I mean, it's a way to really increase total communications with a customer. We hear from many people that they feel like that it's an extra level of concierge service that helps them stand out among other competitors, because they're communicating in a way that really gets instant service, instant results, and the homeowner feels connected even though they're not having phone calls. So Brian or Sheila, if you all would send back a number. And in the meantime, if someone else wants to send a cell phone number over via chat, via the chat box that you have, I'm happy to give you a message as well. All right, so Brian, you sent a message over of Mr. Yoho. It's hard to see all these details, but as the call center rep, I can click on this, and now we can see, I can see the gray hairs in Brian's beard. I can see all the details necessary here. This picture, however, can also be downloaded to a computer and can be printed out and put into that customer's file. How valuable would it be for a warranty rep, a service rep, to have a picture of what they're doing, not sent via email where that homeowner has to learn how to attach something to an email, but right there from their phone. They take a picture from their phone, they attach it and send it out. So here's Sheila, took a picture of a hat, looks like, and I can see it's Exterior Pros.
I know who Sheila is now. I thought that name was familiar. Now I know who Sheila is.
Again, this can be downloaded and very easily printed off. Also, just to show you, good systems will have instant reporting available. I can show you instant reports at any time. I could run a report and scroll down, and there it is. There is Sheila's conversation. There's the number that was sent to. There's the number it came from. By the way, that number is my office landline number again. And it shows the messages sent to her, her responses back, including her picture. As quickly as I just looked that up, that's how available that messaging reporting is to you.
So Mark, let's do this, because we've got, it's almost 12, and what I want to do is, one is, if anybody's got any questions or comments, put it into the chat box or into the Q&A box. And then Mark, make them, we had talked about I think this system is killer. And I think that everybody needs to have this system. So what does it cost to get this platform?
Well, I'm stammering because it depends greatly as to how the company wants to use all the services. The number of users, the number of phone numbers they want to use, the number of rep pictures they want. Oh, I didn't even do this. Look, rep pictures can be sent out. I can choose a reminder message, as I showed in the demo, with a rep picture, and I can send that out to Sheila, which Sheila, I can send it to you again.
Yeah, I think that right there is so cool, because you want to do everything you can to set your salesperson up for success. So if the more you can do to set that prospect, that homeowner at ease, the more it's going to help them get in the door to actually be able to demo. So, all right. So
our services start at about $249 a month.
Yeah.
We have some that do some modified stuff, maybe for a little bit less, but it just really depends. The numbers go up from there as.
Look, so $249 is basically going to cover, how many users do I get for $249?
One.
Okay. And how many text messages can I send out?
Unlimited.
And that includes images and all of that?
Yes.
Is there any kind of setup fee?
Yes.
How much?
Again, it depends what we set up, but the setup fees begin at around $150.
$150. Okay, so look, everybody, it's almost 12, and I want to make sure that you get an idea of what this. So you can get started with this for $400. This is like the cheapest solution. He hates when I use the word cheap, but I can't come up with any other word. For $400 to start.
This is not a cheap solution, Brian.
This is not, yes. Okay. So just a couple comments coming in about, this would be a good way for people to communicate with the company. So look, you could get started for 400. Are you going to do any kind of special offer?
Yes, actually. For those of you online that want to join, we'll give you the first month for free. So you can actually just start for the setup cost, and then that first month is free to you.
Okay. And so that's cool. By the way, like I said before, I'm not making anything on this. I think this is something you need to have. I like Mark. I like what he does. We have clients in common, and I want to help you make more money. So he's offering you a free month. You have absolutely nothing to lose. By the way, if you try this, I was going to say I'll do it, but you're going to do it. Mark, if somebody tries this for a month and they hate it, and it's not going to do what you say it's going to do for them, will you give them the setup fee back too?
Sure.
Okay. Yep. So look, so this has now become an absolute no-brainer for everybody that's on the call. You could try this system out for free, basically with zero risk. You're going to pay $150 up front. How much is it if they have more than one user?
Well, again, if we want to get images involved, if we want to get rep pictures involved, if we want to get added users, a user's $39 a month.
Okay.
Really, to get the pictures and all with the logos, you're going to be about $299 to begin with.
Okay, so look, even at $299, it's a complete and total no-brainer. If you save one appointment a week, this thing's a complete no-brainer. So the reason I was asking you was because some people on the call might have more than one user, but here's what I would say to everybody. And yes, I am selling this hard and I make zero money on it, but here's why I'm selling it so hard. You have to have this. If you're serious in this business, you have to have every tool in your arsenal in order to get a hold of people. Leads are not getting easier to get or cheaper. So you need to get a hold of every single person. So you start this for $150. Mark doesn't do this, so I'm doing it for him. So he would have just said, "Oh, just call me." But Mark, I told you, we're gonna have people that are ready to get started call you. So $150. Try it out for a month. First month's free. After that, it's whatever, $249, $299, whatever it's going to be. You're going to decide that with Mark. And if you hate it after using it for a month, he'll even give you the $150 back. So yep. Zero risk. So how do they get a hold of you and take advantage of this offer?
Sure. I guess I should put a logo up somewhere. You can call me at 502-777-4447.
Or text you at that number, right?
Or text me at that number. Yep. Let me see if I have.
Put your number up on the screen.
By the way, if you want to see a digital scratch off, there's that as well. Let me put my number up on the screen, though.
Don't confuse people. He's got a bunch of cool shit that you get with this. So put your number up on the screen.
Hold on here. I'm unprepared.
I don't see any questions. Let's see how many people I scared off. Oh, only a couple. I don't usually hard sell, but man, this is like, you have to have this. By the way, everybody, when I was at Tony's event, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I went up to Mark. I said, okay, here's my credit card. And how much did you charge me?
$249, something like that.
How much did you charge me a setup?
I did.
So I paid full price, by the way. I didn't even get this deal.
I guess you're going to want your setup fee back now, don't you?
No, that's okay. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Okay, this is the way you can reach me. We would love to talk with you. I've talked to some of you in the past before, but we'd love to get you set up and going. These services will have an impact. Brian, you didn't mention it, but we've heard from our clients, and in this very scenario we talked about today, the conversion between getting a lead and setting a demo, we're seeing reports back that say conversion rates are over 10%, 12%, 15%. That's the increase in conversion rate using these services. And I don't know what your volumes are of your individual businesses, but I would suspect that a 10 to 15% increase would be pretty huge when it comes to converting that lead into a demo.
Yeah. All right, cool. So we're at 12. Vanessa, yes, the webinar is being recorded. You'd love to have your boss view it and get the info directly. Yes. We will release the recording probably tomorrow or the next day.
I have that video also available. If you'd like to have a video to share with your team in some way, I can share that with you as well.
Yeah, just text Mark and he'll get you info that you need.
Yep.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Brian.
For everybody that is also on with us, thanks. And I think we might have another webinar this month. We've got a new podcast episode that is going to be going out. That's awesome. And what else? I think that's it. If I can help you with anything, just go to gfourmarketing.com or call us at 305-856-8788. But jump on this deal and get your text messaging set up.